Hey YouTube, thank you for tuning into my video today. Today I have 12 essential tips that you must see before you go ahead and purchase your car insurance, whether you're looking for a renewal or you're looking for your first policy because you just passed your test. And if you did just pass your test, congratulations. Before I do give you the 12 tips, you must know that I do have an extra juicy bonus tip at the end. And the reason why you have to wait to the end for the bonus tip, because it's literally a sprinkle of savings on top of what hopefully you've already saved. So don't miss that one at the end. Please stay to the end. Right, let's get started so you can take note and hopefully save some money on your car insurance. 12 essential tips to get cheaper car insurance in the UK for new policies and renewals. Let's get started. So before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button, you hit the notification bell. The like button, make sure that it gets shared through the YouTube algorithm so other people can save money using these car insurance tips, and you get notified of any money saving tips that I have in the future if you subscribe and use the notification bell. So the first one is use multiple comparison websites, and that's because on comparison websites they can literally compete for your business. So these insurers, you put your data in, insurance will then say this is the price I want to get. They want to be the first result on the screen because it's the first one that gets your attention when you hit that get results button. So they want to be the first one on the screen, and therefore they're going to give you the best result, and they're all competing for that position. So you make sure the first thing you do is use a comparison website. Second one is always get a benchmark quote on one that isn't on a comparison website. So the examples that I use here are Aviva and Direct Line, and that's because sometimes they do work out cheaper, not always, but it's always worth benchmarking against what you've got. The third one is an interesting one. If you're not on the electoral roll and you're over the age of 18, make sure you get on the electoral roll, and that's because when you try to get a quote, the insurer will actually try they have to do fraud checks on you, and part of that fraud check is making sure you're on the electoral roll. If you're not on it, you may be deemed as being a high-risk individual, and they will just give you a high quote as a result because they don't want to insure you, or they might just not insure you full stop. So make sure if you're over the age of 18, get in the electoral roll. It may help. Tip number 4, get a quote early on. On the research that I've done and what I've done personally for my renewal is if you get your quotes earlier on, for some reason you do find you get better results than if you did it in the last few days before your renewal. So the day that they recommend doing before is day 24 before your renewal. That's the day that people recommend online. And so make sure you do get a quote on that day, but obviously personal circumstances may be different to that date. So make sure you get one before that, and make sure you get a quote after that as well. Tip number 5, check your miles per annum. And you will see here that I've got a table here from which.co.uk. Now make sure you accurately reflect your miles, but you may find an occasion where you're on the cusp of one or the other, and you may think going for the lower one will give you a better result, and that's not always the case. On the example here, you've got between 10 and 11,000, 11,000 and 12,000. There's over £100 difference by doing more miles. So if you're on the cusp, it might be worth just checking if you do an extra 1,000 worth of miles, does that give you a better result? You may be surprised. Obviously, I was way surprised by looking at this graph here, this table of the average cheapest quotes, and doing more miles gives you a cheaper premium. It baffles me, but it's just what happens. Sometimes you don't have the answer, but it's a tip that's worth sharing because it may yield a good result for you. Tip number 6, use an accurate job title. Now, I have a job title that never seems to fit when I try to get a quote. And this tool that I found on Money Saving Expert, and I'll put the link in the description for you so you can find it that easy, is I put my job title in. It gives me a rough set of job titles that could fit. I work out 4 or 5 that do fit in between that, and then from then on I then look at what the cheapest average cost is using this tool. And by looking at this, for example, on here you've got a difference of £332 and £388 just on job titles alone. So by making sure that your job title fits accurately and picking one that is cheapest using the tool, it might yield you a better result. And again, it's another tip that's just worth trying out for you. Tip number 7, if you attempt to just get a third party, which people normally associate with when you have an old banger and you're not worried about getting it repaired, just get a quote for fully comp. You'll be surprised sometimes at the quotation that you get just by getting a fully comp over third party. Tip number 8, make sure they've not included optional extras, and if they have and you don't want them, make sure you remove them, because if you do remove them, it will give you a cheaper premium. Obviously there are optional extras that you will want, make sure you keep them, but if there are any that they automatically added in without asking for your permission, make sure you get them off. Tip number 9, add a named driver to your policy, and you should always get permission from that individual before you add them to your policy, and making sure that if you're going to be the main driver of the vehicle, you put yourself as the main driver. Don't switch and swap who the main driver is and the named driver. The main driver should be the main driver. Named driver is going to be obviously the one that's going to be driving it occasionally. If you do switch them over, then that's called fronting, and fronting is illegal. So do not do that. Make sure the main driver is the main driver, but adding on an extra driver can help you get a reduced premium. If you added a second one on as well, that can reduce it. Personally, I've done it and it doesn't actually yield a better result. Adding one driver as a named driver does do a better job for me. Tip number 10, amend and adjust your voluntary excess. This is anyone if you can afford it. Just by adding the voluntary excess, increasing it slightly, can actually reduce your premiums, and you can see that as you keep totting it up. Sometimes just moving it up by an extra 100 quid can give you a big difference in reduction in premium, so it's worth just playing around, but make sure you can afford it before you start increasing it. Tip number 11 is effectively one of the last few tips that you need to know, is because you should have a set of quotes now that you're quite happy with, that it should have beaten your renewal quote hopefully, and you're calling up your existing provider and you're saying, look, I have a set of quotes in front of me that's much cheaper than my renewal quote, can you beat it? And if not, I'm going to cancel the policy. That should hopefully allow them to either match it or give you a better quote, and hopefully they give you a better quote for your time, and that's just from you using these tips and getting a better price. They don't always do it, but it's always a tip worth trying, because you literally just ask them the questions. If they say no, you've always got that other quote that's in front of you that is cheaper. Finally, if you do have multiple cars that you get insurance quotes for, it may be cheaper to get a multi-car policy. Again, just benchmark it against the quotations that you've already got. It may yield a better result. Finally, the bonus tip. So this is the one that you want to use right at the end. And the reason why I say that is because literally you're getting cash back on top of what that quote is on top. So that's why I left it to the end, and it is a bonus tip. So the example that I use here is Topcashback. At the time of the recording, MoneySuperMarket incentive was £27.50, and that's on top of what you've already got the quote for. If you're not familiar with Topcashback, they literally just give you, or Quidco, they literally just give you cash back for purchasing something you're already going to purchase. You're already going to purchase car insurance. So what you do is you set up an account, and I'll drop a link down below where you will get a sign-up bonus, and I'll get a sign-up bonus just for you guys doing it. And effectively, you get an account open, you click on the Get Cashback link after that on the MoneySuperMarket website once you've found that, and it literally take you to MoneySuperMarket. You'll get your quotation, and what eventually in the background, when you do purchase it, it will follow through on the back system of MoneySuperMarket, and they'll track that payment, and effectively they'll say, right, you're expecting £27.50 in the background. So it's effectively free money for doing something you're already going to do. The most important step is don't just accept your renewal price. Obviously you've came this far, don't just accept your renewal price. There's a load of different tips that you can to reduce your car insurance, and the ones that I provided you should hopefully yield you a good result. And if you want that bit on top, make sure you use Topcashback as well. It's not essential. You may be just happy with your quote, and that's fine. But if you want a little bit more and you can do it, by all means, try it out. Get your sign-up bonus, and I'll get a sign-up bonus as well if you do, as soon as you purchase something on Quidco or Topcashback. Before you go, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and share it. Thanks for your time.